Mistakes in Minions that you didn't never notice. The first episode, when Otto is returning to the lair with the Zodiac amulet, which chronologically is happening. While Gru and the Minions flee from the Vicious Six, we notice some things that don't make much sense. For example, one of them would be the fact that when he is walking and looking at the amulet in the background, we can see a group of 4 children playing ball in the sun note that the girl in the yellow outfit is black. However, shortly after the minion trips and falls, face first into the mud and gets up, we see the same group of children once again, as well as the girl in the yellow dress. But the little girl simply had her skin color changed and now she is white. Is it something similar to what happened to Michael Jackson? I don't think. So it must have been just an animation mistake. In the next movie, surely one of the funniest things in this animation was the participation of the family of Voolans, who give a ride to the 3 protagonist minions to Orlando. And when they finally get the ride note that there is a small lunchbox next to Bob where he kept his little teddy bear, as you can see it's there, next to the 3 minions later when we see them getting into the vehicle. The small lunchbox is no longer there, it simply disappears. This small animation error is one of the most famous in the first movie of these. A little later, when Gru managed to hitch a ride to the villain con in Orlando, we notice another cool mistake. When the poor yellow beings try to reach their destination, they see a hippie van stop to give a ride to a person who was on the side of the road and notice that the license plate of this colorful car is the 6413. Immediately after, the car of the deaf and blind old lady appears, and it also has the same plate D6413. Someone from the animation team got a little too lazy to make 2 different plates. Arrive at the Supervillains convention. We see that in the background are 3 very important characters from the franchise that are present at the same event. They are the young GRW, his unfriendly mother, and a much younger version of Dr. Nefario. In fact, the Doctor is exactly demonstrating his freezing ray that the young GRW ends up using at the end of the movie to free Scarlet and Herb, stealing from them the crown of the Queen of England. So the mistake actually happens in the second movie, when GRW goes to the interview to join the Vicious Six. He enters a store where Dr. Nefario himself works, and there the scientist hands the boy a sticky gun, implying that it is both the first time they meet and the first time Gru would use a device created by Dr. Nefario, and neither of these things is true. As we mentioned, they both met at the Villains Convention, and Gru used the scientist freezing gun that would be his employee for many years. Returning once again to the Villain Convention, which is one of my favorite moments in the first Minions movie. It's impossible to forget the scene where Bob tries to prove he's really bad using his teddy bear paper and duct tape that's on the villain recruiter's table. But if we go back a bit to the scene and look at the villain recruiter's table, we can see that there's no duct tape on it. So where did this duct tape that Bob used to try to make his teddy bear scary come from? From the minds of the movie's animators, of course. Now, let's talk about one of the most imperceptible mistakes in the Minions movies. Going back a bit to the first movie, once again, let's go to the scenes that take place inside the crime family's car. As soon as Gru's trio of future servants enters the vehicle, we see that the mother offers small pieces of apple to the little yellow beings, and for that she uses a knife note that when the mother holds it, the knife's slightly curved handle is facing upwards. However, when we see the same scene from another angle, we can see that the knife has changed position, because now it is arched and fighting downwards. Look again, the position of the knife's handle is different between the 2 scenes. That was certainly one of the most difficult mistakes to notice. One of the most famous mistakes in the movies of these yellow beings is related to our dear mini-boss Gru and his child version. If you dig into your memory, you'll remember that in the file of our favorite villain, it states that he was born in 1960, so when we see him reminiscing about his childhood when he saw the man landing on the moon in 1969, we deduced that the mini-boss would have been around 9 years old at the time. However, when we watch Minions 2, in the famous scene where Gru and his minions throw a fart bomb in the movie theater, we see that the movie on the billboard is Jaws. The detail is that this movie was released in 1975, which means that Gru would have been 15 years old and already a big teenager, which is certainly not the case because he is still 11 years old, as he himself states in the interview for the Vicious Six, but now a lot more sense. So this is a historical continuity error in the franchise movies, but it certainly doesn't make the movie any less good. Nevertheless, this is not the only mistake we find in the Minions movies. In this episode, into the story of the first Minions movie, when the group is already working for Scarlet, the supervillain tells them a very well-known story. The big bad wolf, And in this parody of the classic children's tale, the villain is the big bad wolf, and Kevin Stewart and Bob would be the three little pigs, and at a certain moment, the pig Stewart appears covered with arrows, stuck let's say on his back. However, in the next scene, just before the big bad wolf throws a bunch of stuff on the three little pigs as punishment for failing note that the arrows on the back of Stewart Pig simply disappeared. Moving on, one of the most unforgettable scenes in the second Minions movie happens in Gru's room, when Bob has a nightmare and asks to sleep with Gru in his room. We can see that the villain's room is completely filled with posters of the Vicious Six. The problem is that shortly after, Kevin also appears asking for the same thing as Bob, and note that behind Gru's head there's a poster of Knuckles stuck on the wall. But when the second minion lies on the bed, we see that the poster has disappeared as if it had been forgotten to be put back there, which breaks the continuity idea of the scene. That certainly doesn't disrupt the movie at all, but it's definitely a small mistake that we noticed, and without a doubt well, these are the mistakes in Minions. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can see two options on the screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video.